Welcome again. Let us begin with part 2 of our in depth series of videos on the book, The Best Investment Advice I Ever Received. John Bogle is a legendary name in the investing world. He founded the Vanguard Group, which today has over $7 trillion worth of assets under management. Let us see what he has to say about investing. He emphasized on the need to reduce portfolio risk through diversification. He is credited with the creation of the first index fund, and so, his desire to see investors diversify is both understandable and based on practical success. Every stock has an individual element of risk. If you keep just one stock in your portfolio, your stock-specific risk is equal to the risk your entire portfolio faces. So how to eliminate this security-specific risk? By adding more stocks from different sectors. Once you have a well-diversified portfolio, your security-specific risk will reduce or be eliminated. He said that it is important for investors to understand that in the long run, stock returns are determined by only two factors: dividend yield and earnings growth. Daily, monthly, and even yearly returns can be driven by speculation or investor sentiment. But if we look at a much longer time horizon, then only the dividend yield and the earnings growth of a company determine how its stock will behave. So focus on these fundamental aspects while picking companies for investing, especially the earnings growth. John says that even though we do not know where we will be in the near future or 10 years from now, we still must invest. The world is uncertain, and something really bad might happen in the future. But there is also a good chance that something good might come about. So, it is a 50-50 bet. However, not choosing to invest is a sure shot disaster. Let us talk India specific. We don't know at what exact rate corporate earnings will grow in the coming years. The GDP growth might be 7% or 12%. But we cannot deny that India will probably be the fastest growing large economy in the coming 2 decades. Hence, betting against corporate India and India's growth story might just be a losing strategy. So, you must invest, and invest regularly. Let us move forward to what John Brown has to say about wealth creation. He was the chairman of Stryker Corporation, a company that employs over 40,000 people today. The first piece of advice is that a salary can give you only a limited degree of financial freedom. Salaries don't jump every year. And even if they do, the bump is small. Some years it might not happen at all depending on the economic environment. Salaries are essential to fulfill one's basic needs and live a comfortable life, but if you want to fulfill big desires and wish to live a good retirement life, just a salary will most often be insufficient. The lesson is to look beyond a monthly salary for wealth creation. The second part of the advice is to look to equity to accumulate wealth. For a middle-class person, equity is the best way to make wealth because the upside is potentially unlimited and the investments needed are small. You absolutely have to tap equities because if you don't, you will keep working for money your entire life. It is time you start making your money work for you, and only equities can do that. Only the patient make wealth in the markets. This is a virtue that has no substitute. John shares a personal experience to elaborate how the stock market rewards the patient. When he joined Stryker in December 1976, he acquired 5% of the company. That small investment became $1 billion compounding at a return of 34%. You too can have such investments. But you must develop patience. Susan Byron was the founder, president, and chief executive officer of Westwood Management. She has some great insights into valuations. Past valuations need not necessarily be as accurate and useful in the future as they were once. She writes that the PE ratio using past data was a very common valuation tool in the 1970s. But because the 1970s saw a period of high inflation as compared to before, the conclusions derived from the PE ratio were not as useful. Thus, it is important to change your way of analysis with changing times. It is important to know that valuations for individual companies, or even sectors, do not reflect the overall valuation of the market. We must be careful about generalizing the valuations we derive for a company or a sector. Ask the right questions to get the right answers. Such a simple yet profound advice. Take the example of 2020's COVID crash. When our markets were tumbling, the question everybody was asking was, when should I exit? Instead, the right question to ask was, when would be a good opportunity to buy good stocks at cheap prices? So, always analyze the situation and look to ask the right questions. Peter Cohen was the president of Peter Cohen and Associates. He has three extremely important pieces of advice on investing. His father had warned him that shorting a stock is extremely risky. It has the potential for unlimited loss. If you short a stock at, say, a price of 10, and it goes up to 20, 50, or 100, your loss is unlimited. You have to be absolutely certain when shorting a stock. Peter mentions that you can short a company that is headed for bankruptcy, but even that has its dangers. We would strongly advise to avoid shorting a stock, especially on a positional basis. For successful investing, it is a great practice to identify dominant trends in the economy. The markets are regularly changing. If you are able to identify the trends that will flourish in the future, you can invest early in companies that have the best chance to succeed. You might be able to pick up companies that are on no one's radar and are trading at cheap valuations. Peter says we must look for companies that fulfill their commitments. He gives the example of Johnson & Johnson. In 1982, 7 people died of cyanide poisoning found in Tylenol bottles. The CEO of the company, without waiting for any approval, recalled 31 million Tylenol bottles. This costed the company a whopping $150 million. Today, Johnson & Johnson is regarded as one of the most valuable companies in the world, with a credit rating of AAA. The lesson is to take interest in companies that fulfill their commitments, especially those that have to do with the welfare of their customers and shareholders. We now move to our last financial expert. Harsh Cohen was the Chief Investment Officer for Citigroup Asset Management. He talks about mid-1974. The Vietnam War was at its peak, oil prices were rising, inflation was touching the roof, interest rates were high, and the S&P 500 index was plummeting with each month. He says that it was very difficult to be bullish in such an economic environment. It was then that a friend of his, Larry Fertig, spoke about how bullish he was on the markets and how he was on the lookout for bargain stocks. The index touched a low of 63 in September 1974, and exactly 2 years down the line, it was at 105, a rise of 40%. The lesson is simple. If you are bullish when everything seems to be going downhill, you will find the best bargains. Larry also told him that there is always something to worry about in the markets. This little piece of advice holds immense relevance. Someday we will have inflation to worry about, the next day a geopolitical tussle between two superpowers, then market valuation, and on another day a terrorist attack. The worries will never end. But they cannot prevent us from investing. If we keep delaying investing based on the possibility that some event today or tomorrow might hurt the markets, we will never get around to investing. Our focus should be on analyzing how much the markets discount various events. That helps in understanding what impact an event could have on the markets. Let us take an example. On the morning of 29 September 2016, the Indian Army announced that it had conducted surgical strikes in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir in retaliation for the Uri terrorist attack. Immediately after the declaration, the market plummeted. Nifty closed 154 points down, or 1.7% in red. In today's situation, this would be a fall of over 300 points. This sudden fall happened because the market had never expected any such military action, and hence hadn't discounted the possibility for the same. Fast forward to February end in 2019. The Indian Air Force conducted air strikes in Pakistan. But our markets did not budge. There was no sell-off. The reason is that, after the Pulwama terrorist attack, the markets had discounted the possibility of an upcoming military action. In the next video, we will take up another 5 experts and interpret what they have to say about the financial world.